following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, a new chapter for all of us here at what was once V8 Online. Tonight is our very first broadcast under the title of the SimSpeed Esports Network, which to some might appear to be just a name change, some new colours, and a few other little bits and pieces. But over the next few weeks, the next few months, and especially in 2019, you will soon begin to find out just how much we have in store for you all. But until then, we still have many championships raging on as we reach round number 6 of the Monday night V8 Supercars broadcast. We're still struggling to work out the piece of just who can take this title out because it is still very much all to play for, as tonight means we're halfway there. But just whose championship hopes will be left living on a prayer at the end of tonight, because tonight takes us to the Nurburgring. And whilst it might not be the green hell itself, there will still be plenty of drivers crying for mercy after 24 laps of the BES layout. Bringing you the action live on the iRacing Esports Network and broadcasted by SimSpeed TV is myself, Bo Albert, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Zach Hanlon with Jay Kennedy in the director's booth. But Zach, there is always debate about what the most exciting layout of the Nurburgring GP circuit is. I personally prefer the ultra-tight chicane over this layout, but you can't deny that this circuit always has a habit of providing some bumper-to-bumper action.
Oh yeah, this Nurburgring is one of my favourite tracks because you can race there, just like Watkins Glen. Just like a couple of other tracks we've already seen this season. It's a real races circuit. You can use different lines to make things work. You can pressure your opponents into taking lines that they would otherwise not like to take. And it's just a good, fun track. So I think we're going to see some really good racing tonight. And Corey Preston, Kazuki Umeshima are setting the pace very early. Sam Blacklock, our current championship leader, yet to put in a lap, but he's really going to have to work here tonight, because the pace is looking on point from everyone up the front end of the field at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Sam Blacklock coming across for his first lap, and he only manages P12 at the moment. So for our championship leader, it is a long way away from where he would want to be, only in the 55s when there are cars in the 54s. So a nightmare for Sam Blacklock, and he's actually finished his second lap as well. So he is not going to be going anywhere as we now focus our attention onto the next driver trying to complete a lap, which is Brady Myers across the line at 54.6 to go P number 4. So a great result there for him in the TTL Esports car. So we'll move our way now over to Dylan Goulson, who's coming back after a bit of a breakaway in the V8 Supercar. Had a lot of time off in the middle, but great to see him back out on track, and also good to see the YouTube chat nice and active with a lot of new viewers here on the stream tonight, including Sophie. So I said I'd give you a shout out. There's just shout out. But Dylan Goulson coming across the line now, 55.3 is his fastest lap at the moment. Can he improve on the second lap? And indeed he does, 55.1 to go P12, Zach.
Yeah, and that puts him ahead of championship leader Sam Blacklock. So a bit of time out of the game for Dylan Goulson. Hasn't seemed to scrub off any of his speed. Still 9/10 off the leader right now of Kazuki Umeshima, who, it has to be said, has put in an absolutely scorching lap there. And Corey Preston pulling out some form from what we've seen earlier in the season, getting himself up into position number 2 at the moment. Problem for Corey, though, is he needs to finish races, which is what he's been struggling to do all throughout this season. So we'll have to see if he can do something. A couple of other cars are still circulating at the moment. Warren Pickering looks like he's backed out of that lap, though. Mario Vlasic, who's down in 31st position. He'll definitely want to improve from there, coming through the last few corners. But unfortunately for him, we have run out of time, and it is Kazuki Umeshima who will take us away from pole position this evening alongside Corey Preston for position number 2. Kyle Stokes, a fantastic lap, P number 3 for him, and Brady Myers for TTL up in position number 4. James Duckworth, the 27 car, up in position number 5. So very nice job there from Duckworth. Brett Loxton will start out of 6th. ERT's Riley Blythe will start from 7th position. Ross Rizzo will start from 8th. He'll look to move himself forward after a podium position last week. Sam Sutton will start out of 9th, and Cooper Webster will round out the top 10.
Jamie Knight will kick things off for the 6th row of the grid alongside Dylan Goulson, who makes his return after a long time away. Jake Maloney will get the TTL Esports car a 13th place start tonight, with Jacob Knight and Guy Leach on top 15. The big story heading into this one has to be Sam Blacklock, all the way down in P number 16, a disaster for our championship leader, who is only narrowly ahead of Brett Cananzi, Steve Jansen, Harley Haber, and Brett Hobson, your top 20.
Then we have Andrew Welter coming out of 21st, Craig Jones in 22nd position, Christian Smart starts from 23rd. Andrew Zackerson has had some good battles the last few races. He'll move his way forward from 24th. Chris Coxhead as well, a avid battler, starts from 25th. James McKee, 26th, Mark Samuel 27th, Warren Pickering 28th, Sean Thompson 29th, and Damon Mulqueen, Mario Vlasic, and David Miller round out this 32-car field. And quite a few drivers we'd expect to be up at the front of the field in the mid to lower mid-pack this evening, Bo. So I think we got a good race on our hands for tonight.
We absolutely do. The entire field is so close in lap times here tonight, which is great to see. But who is going to be the first car down into that long run into turn number 1? We're about to find out, because cars are beginning just to gently rev before the lights come on in a matter of seconds time. And here you are. You can hear a few cars moving. A bit of a jump there for Kazuki Umeshima. Doesn't want to be doing that as the green flag flies, and we will get underway here for 24 laps at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. And look at the jump from behind as the cars all fan out, making their way down now into the very tight turn number 1 hard braking zone. Very easy to make some positions if you're feeling brave, but fortunately it looks like we're all good so far. How's the mid-pack going to get through? But it's all of a sudden going to be Corey Preston who's going to lead this race, and the JSMR Falcons, so a great jump from him to get into the lead of this race as they all file in behind through the stadium section, which is ultra tight. You have to be very careful not to make contact, especially into these next slow few corners, including turn number 3, this left-hander, which just tightens and tightens before flicking over to the right. Very easy to make contact, and there is a few panels being scraped, but fortunately it doesn't look like anyone's been turned just about yet, as Brett Cananzi gets a big moment heading through the stadium section. But for our top few cars, it's all single file, which is what we like to see, but it's almost 3 wide in the background, including the likes of Guy Leach, who goes side by side with Steve Jansen now into this forward curve section. So these guys are still continuing to fight it out as they now make the run towards the Dunlop curve, which is a corner which has 100 different lines, especially in battles when you're trying to overtake Zach.
Yeah, some great vision watching all those cars through turns number 1, 2, 3, and 4 there, and a good job from everyone to get through cleanly. I've already noticed as well Sam Blacklock, our championship leader, already up 4 positions from his start, so a very good job for him. But noticed as well Duckworth having a bit of a battle there with Rizzo and Kyle Stokes early on in that first part of the lap, doing a good job to hold his own there. Did drop a couple of spots, but managing to keep it all on the tarmac. Riley Blythe coming under attack from Jake Maloney at the moment, and just ahead of them they've got Sam Sutton, who's having some internet issues that might just check these guys up as they come down into the final chicane here. Riley Blythe has the preferred line, but Sam Blacklock is going to go down the inside of Jake Maloney and make up his 5th position of the race so far. Ooh. And I think that's Sam Sutton actually diving into the pits. So we know that they've got a full tank of fuel tonight, Bo, which we may not have mentioned so far. So it's very likely that these guys are going to have to do a little bit of fuel saving to make it to the end. Maybe Sam Sutton's doing a bit of strategy here, or maybe he's just getting out of the way because of his internet issues. Either way, we will get back to you on that.
The back there from one of the ERT cars. Jamie Knight, sorry to cut across you there, but that was a huge dive, and very lucky to get away with it as it's continuing up the front, including Sam Blacklock, who gets very dicey against Jake Maloney. These two very close at the moment, almost contacting the stadium section again. So for Sam Blacklock in all kinds of trouble in this midfield, but you're absolutely right. It's going to be a little bit tight on fuel here tonight, especially in the weather, which is 19 degrees track temperature, so very cool conditions here at the Nurburgring. So very fast conditions, but look at Cooper Webster, who currently finds himself side by side with James Duckworth and manages to get up the inside. So for Duckworth, well, of course, does a bit of racing in the real world, not having an easy time of it at the moment against Cooper Webster. But it is still Corey Preston who leads out front and is beginning to pull a little margin over Kazuki Umeshima, who definitely like the class of the field, because it's 1.4 seconds from Corey back to Brady Myers, who's coming under pressure from Brett Loxton as well. So the top few cars just skipping away a little bit. So lots of pace in the front few cars, which is great to see. But look at Loxton getting all kinds of races. He looks to the outside. Oh, Brady Myers gets a bit of a moment on the rear brakes, and Brady also on the curb as well. So that was getting a little bit close for comfort. So they make their way through the left-hander, now through the right onto this long back straight, which is not a straight at all, has a kink in it. And then these V8 Supercars on a big fuel tank, which they're currently on, 100% fuel restriction. The cars can get a little bit oversteery, but they keep it all together as they make their way into the much faster version of the chicane.
Yeah, and even though the tyre or the weather temp is fairly cold today, they are going to have to watch those tyres. As we said, they're going to have to probably go the full length of the race. And another competitor comes into pit. That's James Duckworth. So Duckworth coming into the pit lane as well very early on. So that's a very interesting strategy from these two guys here. And Duckworth was obviously battling up with Rizzo and Stokes and Webster before. So have to see how that plays out later in the race. But Brett Loxton, I think he's looking on Brady Myers at the moment. And I bet you that Brett Loxton is thinking, finally got Sam Blacklock behind me in a race in this championship. Now's the time to capitalize. And he's really starting to push Brady Myers here.
He absolutely is. We're looking on board at the moment in the Brett Loxton car as he looks right behind the TTL Esports car of Brady Myers just in front, but he's just not close enough at the moment. But Kazuki Umeshima is closing in a little bit on our race leader, Corey Preston, just being closed in with Kazuki taking the fastest lap of the race last time around. So he's not willing to let this go as well. So we could have a fight for first and second, third and fourth as well, which is great to see with the field all so close at the moment. It's a pretty good strength of field as well. So for Brett Loxton, there is every reason this championship could perhaps have a little bit of a turn here at the halfway point in this series. It's round number 6 of 12. So this is the time, if he wants to fight for this championship, he has to start making moves, and a great run through the Schumacher S, getting a little bit more corner speed than Brady Myers on the exit. He might not be close enough to have a move. He looks to the left, looks to the right, goes late on the brakes as well, but just can't do anything. But now goes for a much tighter line, might look to the inside here, dives it down, but just doesn't quite have the overlap as well. So Brady Myers very easily able to cover that move, and because he had that much more open line, did Brady, he's just able to carry the speed down.
Oh, Blacklock's been hit!
Big incident!
Yeah, Blacklock's been hit. He just got a poor run through the Schumacher S as Jake Maloney was able to get up alongside him, and a little bit of contact, got a little bit of a half spin and got collected by another car as he was coming through. But Sam Blacklock's still circulating, so that's a big hit for him in his race at the moment. He was up 7 positions, and he has lost quite a few of those. He's lost 5 positions, so we'll get a replay up on screen now for you. And as you can see, Jake Maloney just going for a little bit of a dive up the inside as they came through that corner there, and Sam just getting a bit of a bump from Maloney as he came through and got collected by Jamie McKnight, who was a bit of an innocent bystander there, didn't really have anything to go as he was committed to the corner. So Sam's got a lot of work to do now.
Absolutely, that is not what he needed, and he's still trying to find a few more positions after that incident, so he's still fighting on, but he's got Harley Hayward just in front of him, who is not an easy driver to pass, but Blacklock very much setting up a good run out of this next corner, but there's just not much of a braking zone into the Ford curb, so he's just not going to be close enough to try anything this time around. But of course, these two have always been very, very close, but we do have a few more cars just diving into the pits, and it could also potentially be as Brett Loxton and Brady Myers now continue to go side by side, and they're really fighting over third spot. But them battling so much is just allowing the rest of the pack to close in, because out of nowhere, Ross Rizzo has brought the entire train of Kyle Slopes and Cooper Webster into this fight as well. So Brady Myers not looking like a comfortable man at the moment. Out in P number 3, just doesn't have the pace, just struggling a little bit of everywhere, bouncing over the curbs as well, taking a lot more than he really should. And Loxton just taking ultra aggressive lines, trying to find a way through, almost tagging the TTL car, and he's got a fantastic run finally. Does Brett Loxton using the slipstream now and tries to use it into his final chicane, which is not a hard braking zone, but he can make passes happen and that is exactly what Brett Loxton is trying to do. Down to the inside, almost contact made as Brady Myers just cuts across the nose and plays it very aggressive against Brett Loxton. So for Loxton, who has championship hopes this season, after especially with what's happened to Sam Blacklock, it's just not going his way at the moment, as it could potentially be on for our race lead as well, as Kazuki Umeshima in the slipstream, heading towards turn number 1, looks to the inside, late on the brakes as well, and now pole sitter. He lost the lead at the start, but he wants to get it back, but running that one into turn number 1 is not the way to do it. And Corey Preston, as easy as you like, manages to just get a crisscross and makes it happen once again, as Brett Loxton now looks to the inside, almost contact again for P number 3, so this battle's just about everywhere you look, Zach.
Yeah, great respectful driving from these two guys. In fact, all these guys up the front. Nice job there from Corey to give Kazuki the room, and likewise on the exit there. But Kazuki's not done. Kazuki is looking very hungry at the moment. He's darting round the back of that JSMR Ford Falcon, and he wants to get away by, but so does Brett Loxton. Brett Loxton's been looking really on the attack these last few laps, looking for ways past Brady Myers, and I was really surprised that Brady was able to outbrake him into that final chicane the last time round. That was the probably the best opportunity that Brett's had in the last few laps, so he's going to have to recuperate his losses there and just play the game for the next few laps. The guys are battling up the front now as well. They will be, assuming Kazuki can work a bit of that gap back to Corey Preston now. And if they continue to do that, that doesn't put that pack behind out of contention for this race victory. So Loxton really needs to get this move done soon, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it this time around. He's just a little bit far back. So Ross Rizzo's looking pretty handy there. Ross is always good on fuel, good on tires, and even though we might need to make a pit stop tonight, he'll probably just be saving his car for the second half of the race and using it when he really matters. So definitely keep an eye on Ross Rizzo to be in contention for this as well. And Cooper Webster, who's been showing some great pace early on.
Yeah, absolutely, but Jamie Knight finds himself in a little bit of a scrap at the moment, side by side with David Miller, almost contact through the little kink on the straight there, so very nasty. There is now the driver in the eating car of Damon Mulqueen, so a new signing there for that team, so a great job for Damon Mulqueen, not only on his debut, but to get himself another spot as well. So McKnight, after that incident with Sam Blacklock where he got quite a fair bit of damage, just not able to keep the pace in the car, and he continues to plummet down the order, which is a shame to see, because he's always a driver we love to see racing in these cars and always puts on a fantastic show. But there are so many battles happening out on track, which is fantastic to see. Harley Haber still continuing to hold Sam Blacklock behind in regards to this championship fight. So for Blacklock, just not making the progress. You said that he made 4 spots in the opening lap, but after that incident, he's only 2 spots up from where he started, and a big slide heading out of the stadium section is not going to do his championship hopes any better at all. So he's just trying to make a bit more progress, but it's not happening for him at the moment, as it's getting very racy at the moment between the next few cars, including Kazuki Umeshima, who just continues to make moves. Look at Cooper Webster down to the inside of Ross Rizzo, and he's almost got it done, cuts across at the very last second, and Ross Rizzo absolutely gets the door shut on his face, and not having a happy day at all. But like you said, Zach, he's always a driver that's going to fuel save, use strategy to his advantage. So even though this is a bit of a step backwards for Ross Rizzo in regards to the race position, you cannot count him out just yet.
Yeah, it's always got to look for the second half of the race for Ross Rizzo. Usually, you know, it's a fairly long race. We're only 6 laps into this 24-lap race, so only a quarter distance. And he'll be looking to save his car for the second half of this stint. But Brett Loxton looking at on the attack once again, but just not close enough, looking to force the issue on Brady Myers, looking to try and force him into a different line as he comes through that final chicane, looking for any which way that he can get around the TTL Commodore of Brady Myers, but just not able to do it. I think he really killed looking for that attack on the corner entry has really not set him up for a good attack on the exit and down the straight here, which is probably the best place to have a bit of a look. But Loxton has been very strong under the brakes, and you can see him going for a bit of a crisscross under here, just getting a little bit of a nose in, but Brady Myers cutting across the front of the car of Brett Loxton and saying you'll have to find somewhere else to do it, because I'm not just going to give it to you that easy. And Brett's going to have to do so, and he's now also got the fast-paced Cooper Webster sitting behind him at the moment, who's looking to make some progression in this race. And I think that's something that is really going to eke in the back of Brett Loxton here. We've been saying he needs to get this move done. Well, it's been a few laps now, and it's clock's starting to tick down.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And this is also another interesting one because in the race before this, it was a fight between Brett Loxton and Cooper Webster for the race win after a bit of an issue for Sam Blacklock in the earlier split of this race. And it was actually Cooper Webster that came out on top in this battle between himself and Brett Loxton. So for Loxton, he knows Cooper behind has pace. He knows that he can be beaten by Cooper. So there's a lot of pressure on Brett Loxton now. He needs to find a way past Brady Myers, but he cannot for even a second afford to let Cooper Webster behind him get past as well. So Loxton really is in the danger point, and he does have to just try and set his moves up a little bit better. Again, taking a very tight line as Jake Maloney and Riley Blythe continue to duke it out bumper to bumper. And I saw these two duking down the stadium section, and they're continuing their scrap into the second half of the lap as well. But Riley Blythe just holds on to that pass that he made earlier in the lap. But Maloney not willing to let it go too early as the fight for P number 3 continues to heat up, and Loxton looks so much better in the final section of the track. But just those little looks up the inside are just making him run a tighter line, not able to hold the corner exit speed that he needs, which means down this long straight, he doesn't have the speed to attack in turn number 1, like you said, Zach. And he's got a good run at the moment, just closing bit by bit. Brady has to go defensive, a lot of overspeed for Brett Loxton. Looks to the outside, right onto the curb, which does hurt your braking performance, but he's going to try around the outside. Not going to happen. Goes for a switchback because Brady does not get the traction down, and he throws out the inside, and contact is made. And that just sets Brady Myers wide, and Loxton just slips up the inside and might just get the position, but Brady's going to fight him for it down onto the brakes so much later for the TTL Esports car, but Loxton tries to cover it off and finally gets the move done. And with Brady having such a poor run through that right-hander, all of a sudden Cooper Webster's having a look as well, but he's not going to be able to capitalize. So for Cooper Webster, he knows he can be quicker than Brett Loxton. Now he very quickly has to find a way past Brady Myers, and the inside might be the way to do it, but not if you give a punt to the back of the TTL Esports car. He's going to continue on anyway, but now Ross Rizzo's lining up the TTL Esports car, so it's just going from bad to worse for Brady Myers, who's struggling in these conditions at the moment because he's about to lose his 3rd spot in a single lap. And but running the longer outside line can be beneficial, and you can see much better exit heading towards the Schumacher S chicane. So for Brady Myers, he will hold on to this spot as Ross Rizzo brakes on the grass, breaking traction. But Brady really having to fight for everything he's worth at the moment.
Yeah, nicely done from Brady to keep it on the track right now, but he is getting shoved a little bit out of the way. Not too bad there, bit of a bump and rub, but I think Brady knew what he was getting into with that, and probably a little bit the same with Cooper Webster as well. And Brady made those decisions to defend as hard as he did, so he's only got himself really to blame for those positions that he's lost. And Ross Rizzo is really looking to the back of that TTL Commodore now and wants to make his way by. He's just seen 2 other cars get past, and he's thinking, why can't I? Setting himself up for a nice run here, and Brady gets a very poor exit, but now we'll head you up to Kazuki Umeshima, who's going to fire it down the inside of Corey Preston and just gets it all locked up, and that is actually off into the dirt there, so he could potentially, no, he's lost a lot of time up to Corey Preston.
Rizzo and Myers.
Yeah, those guys are getting very close as well, and Ross Rizzo now going round the outside, might try and go very deep. If he goes deep into this corner here, he can keep the inside line for the next corner, and doing a good job to hold it in there, but not quite able to keep it up alongside the car of Brady Myers. We'll take you now to Brenton Hobson and Sam Blacklock as they're going at it in the same spot. And Blacklock sends it down the inside. Brenton Hobson, though, going to try and defend it. Doing a good job to keep the inside line there, but gets it all crossed up on the exit. And that's going to be very beneficial for Steve Jansen, who's lurking in the background and is going to try and take this position away from Hobbo as well. Blacklock locks up and kind of checks this little pack up a bit. Brendan Hobson's running out of room to use. Jansen's going to have to go around the outside, get some better traction. He might have a look down the inside here, as will maybe Hobbo on Blacklock, but they're all just going to tuck in file there. And Steve Jansen going to look for a wider line, take some more speed, but unfortunately he's just lost too much distance trying to take that wider line there. So we will go back up. In fact, Riley Blythe and Dylan Goulston having a bit of a go. Goulston going down the inside. Riley Blythe now going to have to hold it around the outside and looks to get a better exit as they come down into the final chicane. Nicely done there from Blythe. He's got some nice exit speed as they come out of there. They're going to go 2 by 2 as they come down in the final chicane, but who is the bravest? And it looks like it's going to be Dylan Goulston as Riley Blythe just backs out there and gives the position away, trying to set it up. And Riley Blythe has lost it completely trying to set it up there. Little bit too much gas, and around she goes. Not a complete loss. He's able to keep it out of the pit lane and keep on going, but these guys are really turning it up for us this evening, Bo.
Absolutely, we're looking at a replay right now as we're going through the chicane, just lights up the rear tyres and around he will go. So for Riley Blythe, a big moment there, and that's not going to be one he's going to be looking back with fond memories, as Ross Rizzo is having fond memories because he's going around the outside of Brady Myers at the moment and might have the inside contact made between the two. But Ross Rizzo forces his way through, and Brady Myers' day could be about to get even worse because Carl Stokes gets a great run out of that right-hander and looks for a move, and he's getting very opportunistic, but has to be just a little bit more patient against the TTL car, who has been having a very rough night indeed, has not been exactly race the cleanest we've ever seen. But Carl Stokes, always a clean racer. He knows how to make moves properly, and he should be able to find a way past Brady Myers if he does it all without bumpers being made. But he's got to go down to the inside and almost gives him a bumper, so ignore what I'm saying. But there we go, contact is made, and it's Brady Myers who almost gets half spun, manages to hold on to it a little bit more, but it's not been his day. But fortunately for Brady Myers, there is good news coming, because the only car behind him now is his teammate, so you would hope there's no contact there, Zach.
Yeah, well, you would hope so, but you also hope for Brady that he doesn't have too much damage to that car as well. He's gotten a few hip checks here and there throughout this race, and he's going to possibly be struggling for a bit of speed as he's missing some fenders on that car. But Sam Blacklock is also missing a couple of fenders on his car, and we can see the effect it's having because he's our championship leader, and he's sitting down in position number 14 at the moment, and he is not able to escape from the clutches of Brenton Hobson right now. These guys have been battling the last couple of laps, and Steve Jansen was getting involved as well. And Hobbo now having a bit of a look as they come down into the final chicane. And Sam Blacklock's going to run deep into the corner, and he's going to get a slowdown there for sure. So he's going to have to relinquish another position to Steve Jansen. And if Craig Jones plays his cards right, he might be able to do something, but not quite able to make the exit work there for Craig Jones. So for tonight, Sam Blacklock and Brady Myers are the pick of the bunch for bad luck, and they're just getting pushed out of the way here at the Nurburgring WEC circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I said at the start of this broadcast that some of these drivers would be living on a prayer, and unfortunately the only prayer Sam Blacklock is having at the moment is for this race to be over, and unfortunately for him it's not even halfway done because that TTR car is struggling bad at the moment, just not able to make the ground where he needs it. So looks like for the most part our leaders have just about settled down after the Brady Myers sort of fiasco of shuffling him down the order has stopped. So that's good to see for the front of the pack to just settle down a bit, let the race get into a rhythm, because it certainly took a while with everyone fighting amongst themselves. It's not quite over for our race lead, but it is still 0.7 of a second. But definitely Kazuki Umeshima has looked the stronger of the two drivers out front, just not being able to get the moves where he needs it. He's been consistently a tiny bit quicker than Corey Preston. By tiny, I literally mean 0.03 of a second last time around. So they're both doing a fantastic job here, but just not being able to set the moves up when he's had the opportunity. But still 13 laps left in this race. He has many more opportunities as the gap continues to come down, especially on this lap. So maybe a little error for Corey Preston somewhere on this lap, and you can see just how much curb Kazuki Umeshima is using as he closes up once again. He might have a shot into turn number 1 here if he can get his exit right. It will look like Corey Preston, who is a very experienced peddler in these V8 Supercars, will be able to hold off the Grand Prix Series ace once again for another lap. But we'll wait and see how this goes into turn number 1, because ignore what I'm saying. Once again, Kazuki's looking out the inside, but he's learned from his mistakes. He knows what he's doing now, and there is no more 6 sideways moves through the gravel this time.
No, he's learned where he needs to get on the brake pedal at the very, very latest, and manages to pull it up this time, but just not quite able to get up alongside Corey Preston enough that he can make that move work. So he's going to have to try another time round. But as you said, Bo, his pace has looked impressive. He's also looking much more controlled in that car at the moment as well. We've seen Corey Preston get a little hot and heavy when the pressure really starts to mount up and mistakes start to be made. So Kazuki might be able to just prey on that a little bit, and if he can keep it in there for a fair while, he might be able to force Corey Preston into a mistake. We are having a look at now at Steve Jansen and Sam Blacklock, because Sam Blacklock is looking to make his way past once again after having that mistake into the final chicane, getting a slowdown. But Craig Jones is going to take a little bit of a dive there as Dan Blacklock takes a very wide line through the corner to try and get some good exit speed. Craig Jones not wanting to take that line at all and goes for a little bit of a dive down the inside, but not making anything work out of that. Steve Jansen gets a little bit taily. Camber of the corner though catches him and shoots him out of the corner, not having to lose too much time from that. There's a little battle behind these guys as well. Great train of cars. Mark Samuel, Andrew Welter, Brett Cananzi, Sean Thompson, James Mackey, David Miller, Christian Smart, and a couple of others, all in a big train and closing in on each other bit by bit as well. But up at the front, Kazuki Umeshima now just 0.2 of a second in it for the lead. And as they come down into turn number 1, just once again, in fact, Kazuki going for a little bit of a different approach here, taking much wider entries into the corners. This might set him up a little bit better for the stadium section. They can just break very, very late and deep into this corner here, but Corey Preston placing his car nicely and just not allowing Kazuki to get into that line that he wants. And looks like these two cars are set up very differently as well. Kazuki definitely looks like he has the advantage at the moment though, Bo.
Yeah, he does, but I wonder how long that advantage is going to last for, because I'm noticing that the way he's driving the car, he's using a lot of the loud pedal out of corners and really burning the rear tires up. So I think for Kazuki, it might be a case of having to get the move done pretty soon, because he might not have the tires to do anything in the final few laps. Of course, Corey has done 100 races in the V8 Supercar. He knows exactly how to manage the tires quite nicely. Whereas for Kazuki Umeshima, of course, he's used to the Grand Prix car. He knows how to manage tires, but this car is a bit of a unique beast in that way, so any experience you have is always going to help. So Corey definitely has the advantage in that respect, and through this little section of track here, especially the back section, I was going to say Corey's car looks a little bit more settled, but it was anything but settled as Kazuki gets almost a bumper into the back there of the JSMR Ford Falcon. So close racing once again from the Japanese driver, who always puts on a fantastic show. And yes, I am most definitely a fanboy of Kazuki as he lights up through the gravel trap on the exit there, but he's not going to have any chance into the chicane this time around as Corey Preston just extends the margin a little bit more. But Brett Cananzi might have a bit of an advantage because he's just found his way past Andrew Welter, who now goes side by side with Sean Thompson through the Schumacher S, which is not a place you want to go side by side. So this battle down the little bit of back down the order is definitely the one to keep an eye on at the moment. They're still side by side, making the way now into the big braking zone for this quick left right before the final chicane, final straight, sorry. And they're continuing to try and find ways past each other, but James Mackay not having any luck at the moment, but looks for a big run on the exit and does indeed get it. But can he do anything into the chicane as Kazuki Umeshima has out of nowhere dived up the inside of Corey Preston for our race lead? But Corey is a wise man, he's not going to let that happen too easily, but Kazuki's going to try around the outside, so side by side stuff for the race lead on lap 14 at the moment, and Corey's missed the apex a little bit, which sends Kazuki well and truly wide of where he would have wanted, but he's going to get the inside of the right-hander. So all of a sudden we almost have a change of race leader, but it's going to be a drag race once again for the 4th consecutive corner. But Kazuki just doesn't quite have the horsepower to hold this battle all the way into turn number 5, the Ford curbs. So he's going to have to wait a little bit longer, but Corey Preston just looking more and more vulnerable. When we went to him before through the Schumacher S section, his car was really struggling for grip in the high speed section. It's just not settled for him at the moment. And Kazuki's going to try and take advantage into the massive cambered long right-hander, where you can take 100 different lines. You can see Kazuki going for a much wider line, trying to carry the exit speed, but just a little bit too far back at the moment. So for Kazuki, he's got the headlights on now. He's got his full focus on Corey Preston in front, and Corey just beginning to look a little bit more vulnerable than before, Zach.
Yeah, he is a little bit, but really nice racecraft from both of those guys as well. Nice to see them giving each other a good ample bit of room and also thinking about what the other driver is doing and reacting to that and putting their car in the position that they want to react to that. So very good driving from both of those guys, and very impressive from Corey Preston to be able to maintain that position. But it has been going off a little bit further back in the pack, as we were watching before. Sean Thompson, James Mackay, David Miller, Mario Vlasic now getting involved. He's just gotten his way past Christian Smart in the last lap as well. But once again, Kazuki Umeshima, he does not want to let this race win go. He wants to attack all the time. He's finally got a very good run now, and if he can get on the anchors just late enough, this could be it for Kazuki Umeshima. He just manages to pull it up, getting a little bit sideways there. but Corey Preston going for a very wide line. He's going to try and do what Kazuki did last time, but unfortunately for Corey Preston, it's just not going to work as Kazuki Umeshima cuts back across the track. And finally, for Kazuki Umeshima, position number 1 is his, and we'll see now how much he can get away. The margins were very tight between these guys, just a couple of hundredths of a second separating them for fastest lap, and they've been basically trading laps between hundreds of seconds of each other for the last 10 odd laps. So we'll have to see if Kazuki has been saving his true pace to get past Corey Preston, see if he can break away here.
Mark Samuel and Brett Cananzi still refusing to let go of each other. Cananzi just attacking at every moment to get past the Redback Racing team, but it's not happening. It's in the background. How was that for Andrew Welter with a massive slide under brakes in the stadium section? But Cananzi once again just getting a little bit of a better run on the RRT car, but not quite close enough to do anything with it once again. But those two guys were absolutely knocking each other's mirrors off down the straight. It was very close racing, as it still is for the cars behind, but Cananzi and Samuel, if they get a little bit closer, which they have been all races, Samuel locks the brakes up once again. A battle to well and truly keep your eyes on, because this battle is very intense. They're not giving each other any margin for error, and every corner is an overtaking spot for these guys. They don't care about where the easiest place to pass is. They'll go anywhere they can to get ahead of the other. So some great racing down here for P19 at the moment. So it's not all about the guys who are racing for race wins every week. It's about those who come in and participate and put on a fantastic show, which might be what about Andrew Welter's about to do, because he's got a much better run on Cananzi now. Looks to the outside, but doesn't decide to do anything with it. So just elects to sit behind Cananzi for a little bit longer. And he should have a pretty good run out of this next corner if he wishes to go for it, because Cananzi apexes very early, doesn't get the corner extra speed, as Andrew Welter gets a fantastic run down this back straight, and you can see Cananzi just defending a little bit to go through the right-hander. Tyres getting old, which means Welter pushed onto the grass, and once again, door handle, mirror to mirror into the chicane, and they both kind of back out of it, but in the end, Welter does get a nose in front and look behind, because Sean Thompson's going to try and take advantage of this as well, but can't do it as Cananzi dives back down the inside of Andrew Welter, almost a bump given on the exit. So for the second lap in a row, Cananzi finds himself going side by side down the front straight for position, but Andrew Welter has a bit more horsepower this time around, so Cananzi sits back into the slipstream and will think about a move into turn number 1, but it decides to sit out of it, but then it goes a bit too late on the brakes and goes up the inside instead, locks the inside front, and almost contact on the exit as well. So great racing between these two at the moment as they continue now into the stadium section, and look at Sean Thompson! Dives it down to the inside, goes for a move on Cananzi, but not able to get the clearance that he needs as we now go into the ever-tightening left-hander, and once again, Sean Thompson just trying to buy his way into this fight, trying to buy a ticket to the show, but he can't get it at the moment. He's absolutely pushed to the back of the row at the moment, so Andrew Welter holds that position, but Brett Cananzi still under pressure as he goes into this fast left-hander, and Sean Thompson doesn't need any more invitation, but he's now on the outside, so he's not getting an easy way of this at the moment, because this is just bringing the rest of the pack with them as Thompson lights it up, and then the car behind it, James Mackay, lights it up even more, which gives David Miller a run into this next corner. So this is all on for young and old into this tight right-hander, and Mackay really late on the brakes, almost gives a punt to the side of David Miller's Redback Racing Team car, but David Miller does indeed get it around the outside, and now look, Mario Vlasic thinks about a move into the Schumacher S, but finally we get a corner where none of these guys are side by side, Zach.
Yeah, these guys are really going pretty crazy for it, and good on them, but also up the front as well, Loxton and
Brett Cananzi's just blown up.
Who's blown up?
Brett Cananzi.
Oh dear,
that's too much fighting for his car.
That's a shame. He had a bit of damage to that car, so and he was following pretty closely, so maybe some radiator temps got a little too high there for him. But Cooper Webster has been slowly etching his way up onto the back of Brett Loxton, and he's finally made his way there and is now starting to look like he's on the attack. Just a few tenths separating these guys now, and good racing from these guys the last few weeks. They're both very much on pace at the moment. They have just been falling away from the leaders bit by bit. 17 laps in, only 4 seconds the margin to the leading cars up the front. But Cooper Webster, very young driver, looking to get himself some more podiums in the iRacing official V8 Supercar Series. And the man in the way of that right now is Brett Loxton, and Cooper Webster's definitely not afraid to have a very aggressive stance on attacking and getting a move done, as we saw him have a little bit of argy-bargy with Brady Myers earlier in the race to get to the position he's in now. So that's definitely a battle which is going to be heating up quite a bit. But looking at the lead as well, Kazuki Umeshima has managed to just eke out a little bit of a lead now. 0.7 of a second, not a huge margin, still enough for Corey Preston to be very much in there. Still trading laps within 1/10 of a second, but this battle towards the end of the pack, Zackerson actually having a bit of a go on Damon Mulqueen, but Vlasic is looking very good, albeit with a bit of damage, looking to get past James Mackay, and all of these guys have been trading places the last few laps, but Andrew Welter has just started to pull away from them a little bit after getting the move done, and obviously having Brett Cananzi out of the way is going to help him too.
We will turn our attention now to Harley Haber, who's been doing a very good job in the official series of late, staying out of a bit more trouble than he normally would, and driving to a much better standard as well, and being a lot more competitive as well. But today hasn't quite been his day, and Steve Jansen is going to try and take advantage of that as he lines up down the front straight, because the slipstream has been so effective down this front straight today. And it's only 12 km/h wins, but it's definitely a lot more than 12 km/h quicker. Into the first corner is Steve Jansen, who gets a little bit dicey on the rear brakes, pulls it up almost. Wasn't the cleanest pass in the world, but he's still side by side with the Redback Racing Team car. Goes down to the inside now, but Harley Haber refusing to give up. He'll never back down from a fight as he continues to go around the outside and runs it a bit deep, but he will potentially get the inside for this next right-hander, and he does so. Haber will indeed just hold on to this spot for a little bit longer as Sam Blacklock will try and take advantage in the background, because Steve Jansen has out of nowhere got a much better exit than Haber, and will be able to clear that car. So a good pass there from Steve Jansen, and Harley Haber has to continue to look behind him, because Sam Blacklock has still not found a way past after being behind Harley Haber for probably 10 or so laps now. So it's been a long time for Harley Haber to have Sam Blacklock in the mirrors behind. Blacklock just hasn't had the pace here today, Zach, and that's a really weird thing, because he of course got caught up in that incident at the start of the race, which wouldn't be helping at all. But we saw in the earlier race as well, he was quite a fair way away from the race lead, and it's happened for a second race in a row, so Nurburgring maybe just a bit of a bogey track for him. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of intricacies to figure out at Nurburgring. There's a few corners where you can take lines that might not seem like they're supposed to be taken, if you will, but, that's something that every racing driver has to figure out when they get to the track and they jump in the car, and you got to go fast. So he just hasn't been able to hook it up this week, and unfortunately he now sits in position number 16, and he really hasn't moved. He was up, it's bizarre, because he was up 7 spots in this race. He was up to P number 11 and looking like he was charging through, but obviously that damage has really affected him, because he's now sitting exactly where he qualified, basically 0 net positions. And having a little bit of a look on Harley Haber now, but I suspect that once he gets out of that slipstream, he's just not really going to have all that much straight line speed to be able to do anything with, and still not really on the attack, not looking like he wants to progress with any sort of haste at the moment is Sam Blacklock, and we're nearly over. Only 5 laps to go in this race, so we're 4/5 of the way through, and it doesn't look like he's really going to be able to work with much going on here. When we announced SimSpeed TV, I expected a lot of things, but Sonic the Hedgehog was not one of them I was expecting, so great to see him make an appearance in this broadcast here tonight. But it's on once again for our race lead, because Corey Preston has just reeled in Kazuki Umeshima just a little bit. The gap was out to 0.6 of a second at the start of this lap. It now weighs in at just about 0.3 of a second, so Corey really finding some pace in the end of this race. And that could be what I said a little bit earlier, with Kazuki being very aggressive on his rear tyres, lighting the tyres out of every single corner he could find. And that's really reflected in the last few laps, because last time around, Corey was 0.2 of a second quicker and is closing in once again as Mario Vlasic now makes a pass for P number 22 on James Mackay, as this little battle pack refuses to settle down as they go side by side into the fast right-hander, and Christian Smart is getting very smart about his racing at the moment, because he looks down to the inside but just doesn't quite get the power how he would have wanted. So he'll probably have to back out of this into the Schumacher S, which he does, and I have to look somewhere else around this circuit to make a pass. So this battle pack has been absolutely fantastic, as the lead at the stripe for our race leaders extends to 0.7 of a second again. So a little bit of a mistake. Schumacher S through the final chicane for Corey Preston, but a big moment under brakes for Kazuki Umeshima as well. So it's all getting a little bit dicey at the front, and it is getting a little bit dicey for P number 3 as well, because Brett Loxton has Cooper Webster closing rapidly behind him, and he's going to get very threatening for a move anytime soon now, Zach.
Yeah, had a little bit of a look into turn number 1 on the app, but not able to do anything with it. And Brett Loxton is in a really good position now for his championship. He's sitting in position number 3. That's going to net him some very good points in comparison to Blacklock, who's down in 16th position at the moment. So he's going to be fighting tooth and nail from Cooper Webster here. And these guys have had some battles throughout this series already and have been very closely matched. So I suspect a little bit of a duel here, but I don't think I'd be surprised to see Brett Loxton hold on to that position. But he just needs to keep the car very cool and just keep on trundling along the way he is, and he should be able to bring that home because they've been trading lap times within a tenth or so of each other.
Big hit there for James Mackay, who gets absolutely drilled by Christian Smart, and he will lose a spot to David Miller as well, as they were going through the Schumacher RS, and there was big contact, and James Mackay's car got right up onto the 2 wheels as well. So we've got a replay now on board with James Mackay, and you'll just see as they go through turn number 3, so not this one, going through turn number 2 now. And just behind this, Christian Smart got a bit of an overlap, trying to make a move, and goes for a big dive down the inside, locks it up, gets a bit of oversteer as well, and just bang into the side of the car there. So a big moment there, but we'll be able to continue on in this race, which is good to see as they all continue to fight. So we're still looking at Brett Loxton, who is Cooper Webster a lot closer than he was before, so this is not going to be comfortable for the Brett Loxton car, who's fighting for a championship at the moment, holding onto a podium only barely as well. But in the draft, Cooper Webster, meter by meter, inch by inch, will get closer and closer into turn of 1. A bit of a wiggle as he gets the rear tyres onto the curb as well, unsettling the balance of the car, but not unsettling Brett Loxton at all. He's staying strong at the moment with 4 laps to go. So it's all getting very, very tight as Corey Preston has made error at some point, and the gap has now expanded to 1.1 seconds. So if he wants to have any chance getting himself a race win here today, he's got to put the pressure on Kazuki now. But that is exactly what Cooper Webster is doing, as Brett Loxton spent more time in that corner with counter oversteer rather than actually turning into the corner. So a big slide there from Brett Loxton as Cooper just continues to look for a way past. And again, Brett Loxton's attitude of the car not looking comfortable at the moment, and he's really having to wrestle the car. So I've got to say, Zach, I think his tyres could be gone.
Yeah, he's definitely looking a lot more uncomfortable than he did. Oh, and just locking up the rear brakes there as they came down into the horseshoe as well, and just struggling to get down on the power. So I think your intuition could very much well be correct, Bo, that car does not look like it has much rear grip at all. And it does look very, I mean, all these cars have looked very stiff this evening, with the exception of Kazuki Umeshima, who's been rolling around a little bit more comparatively to his other competitors. But both of these guys looking in very stiffly sprung cars, and you've got to be careful getting the traction down when you're in a very stiff car, because just that little 1% throttle too much and you can easily light it up. And Cooper Webster's been looking very strong in the second half of the lap here, really ensuring that he's on to the rear of Brett Loxton as they come into this final corner, as he can best attack down into turn number 1. You can see Cooper Webster just taking the widest possible line, both of them using all of the curb on the entry into the corner just to make the radius of that corner as long as possible. And here we come, Cooper Webster looking down the inside, covered off by Brett Loxton. He's going to have to go the long way around, both on the brakes at around the same time, so both pushing it to the very limit. But Cooper Webster's going to go and cut in under here. He's going to try and go for a wider line through turn number 2, and if he does that correctly, he'll be up alongside Brett Loxton for 3, but unfortunately just wasn't able to hold that mid-corner speed as much as he would have wanted, and he's had to back out of that move for the time being. Yep,
and Sam Blackwell is side by side with Harley Haber, but even though he got a much better run, was so much quicker initially, the damage just does not allow him to find a way through. I thought for sure he would have a chance into turn number 1, but it just doesn't happen with the straight line speed of his car at the moment, as Harley makes a big meal out of turn number 1, just does not hook it up at all. But still, Blackwell just doesn't have any chance of finding a way through at the moment, so not ideal for him, as the gap between Loxton and Webster has grown out just a little bit, which is not what he needs to see, as Andrew Walter makes a huge dive bomb on Mark Samuel and gets that done very easily. So Mark Samuel just completely choosing to back out of that move. With considering how that little fight for P number 19 has played out all throughout this race, I'm not surprised he just got out of the way. It's been a very intense battle for all those drivers. But for P number 3, which is still the fight to watch, the one that has consequences potentially on the championship with a strength of field of 3.5k, there's plenty of points on offer for Brett Loxton here for a P number 3, when Sam Blacklock is only 16th and not finding a way past for 15th anytime soon. So again, Webster just a little bit far back at the moment, but we've seen time and time again just how strong he is through this final chicane.
Yeah, he's been looking very good in the second half of the lap, and I think he's really aiming to set himself up for something through the first corner and possibly through turn 2 and 3, and through the stadium section as well. But Brett Loxton's cars looked very good through the stadium section, and I know the stadium section is one of the most critical parts about this lap. You can easily lose half a second to 0.6 of a second through there, so not surprising to see he's got it all hooked up for that. Cooper Webster trying a different approach this time, trying to force the issue on the inside line. Still can't make it work, and Brett Loxton, because Cooper not out on the outside there, able to take a wider line and protect his way through turn number 2 and 3.
Something's happened to Blacklock.
Yes, something has happened to Blacklock. We'll see if we can find out what's happened there for you. It's possible that
I'm just having a look now.
Yeah, he's bumped into the back of. Oh, he's actually. I think he's just escaped. I think he's just too frustrated, and he knows he's not going to get enough points. He was having a battle there with Harley Haber, and just got a little bit too eager under the brakes. Just gave Harley a bit of a nudge, and then ran through the second part of the chicane. Got a slowdown, and I think he just decided to pull off to the side of the road and say day done there. So a drop round for our championship leader. That is one in the safety bag that he no longer has, and he's going to have to make sure that he keeps on performing for the rest of this season, because still plenty of opportunities to have a DNF throughout this season with 6 races to go. Done a good job for the first half of the season, but got to maintain that all throughout. But Kazuki Umeshima has pulled away at the moment as well. While we're just looking on how the race is going, 2.5 seconds is the gap back to Corey Preston for Kazuki Umeshima. So his rear tires obviously found a new lease of life, and he's been able to progress himself very nicely through. But Cooper Webster is still looking for a way past Brett Loxton. Got a good run once again. Loxton coming into the middle of the track. Now this is the last lap, so it has to get done this time around. And Cooper Webster going to go very much on the inside there, but just because of the angle of the corner, can't quite make it work. He's going to cut back in around. He's up side by side this time, which is a good start. Just gets a little bit wide there, forced out wide by Loxton, who came across very aggressively. And now Webster's down the inside. He's going to force the issue down on the inside, but Loxton cuts across the front of the nose and says, "You're not going to get me here, not today." And he's going to hold on for at least another couple of corners. But Cooper Webster now, the fire's in his eyes. You can see Loxton scrambling to keep this position, and he's on maximum attack. Is Cooper Webster looking for a way by? Might throw it down the inside here. Has a little bit of a look. Throws it in there a tiny bit, but doesn't commit. He's got to find somewhere else to do it. He's only got a handful more opportunities where he can make this work. Probably 2 or 3 if he can really get on it. And he's going to have to make sure that he doesn't attack too early, because then he'll ruin his run for the next corner, and just not quite close enough through the Schumacher S's. Unless he can really pull some through in this mid corner here, he's going to very much struggle towards the end of his lap. But Blythe and Hobson are having a bit of a run for this last lap as well, as they go side by side into the horseshoe, and Hobson is going to get that move done. But
no, he's in the gravel.
He's not. He's in the gravel, just as I switched away there. But it has been a very good race for Kazuki Umeshima. Started on pole, had a little bit of a jump as he was coming off the grid. Had a little bit of a...
That was a fantastic move from Cooper Webster around the outside of the chicane that made contact into the final corner. Loxton dives it down, contact's made again, and Loxton will hold on by the skin of his teeth to take P number 3 in a fantastic final attempt for Cooper Webster. That was fantastic. Into the chicane, he did everything he could, threw it at the last chance in the chicane to try and get that third spot on the podium away, but it just wasn't happening. But we need more than one replay. We need 1,700 replays of what just happened into that final chicane. That was fantastic, as Cooper Webster just did a great move. We're now having a look now gets the run, heading into the final chicane to the outside. There was no way through, but he's so late on the brakes, on the rear brakes now, sliding it in. Almost manages to pull it up, and just a bit of contact here, bang, into the side of Cooper Webster's ERT Commodore, and Loxton just very forcefully gets his way back through. So very brutal racing between these two, lots of contact made, but what could have been a fantastic pass, we get yet another look of it, Zach.
Yeah, that was very brutal from both those guys. It almost looks like it's been sped up as Cooper Webster comes through that final chicane there, just so late on the brakes, and absolute credit to him to be able to keep that car under control and just managing to make the corner. Brett Loxton, you know, bit hard, but these are V8 Supercars, they're touring cars, and a little bit of argy-bargy here and there is what makes us excited. And very nicely done from Brett Loxton, and he's in a championship contending position. I mean, as is Cooper Webster, but Brett definitely needing to capitalize on that. And unfortunately, we did miss Kazuki coming across the line, but a very nice job from Kazuki Umeshima, who had a bit of a tough race, getting caught behind Corey Preston in the early stages, but able to work his way past and take the race win. Corey Preston fighting very valiantly, but in the end, not quite able to keep up with the wrath of Kazuki Umeshima. Brett Loxton fighting very, very intensely with Cooper Webster for the last lap of that race, the last few laps, and taking home the final podium position, and a very respectful fourth position to Cooper Webster, who almost got it into fourth. Ross Rizzo saved his car for the final portion of that race, came home fifth. Kyle Stokes had a little bit of a quiet race, starting third, moving himself back down into sixth position. And Brady Myers, well, he got shoved out of the way a few times from fourth down into seventh. Jake Maloney had a quiet race as well, although progressing himself from 13th up into eighth, and Guy Leach as well going well from 15th into ninth, with Dylan Goulson taking out position number 10.
Bringing it home in P number 11 would be Jacob Knight in what was a very feisty race between himself and also Riley Blythe as well during that race. And we saw that battle on the last lap between Blythe and Brenton Hobbs. And unfortunately for Hobbo, it wouldn't be the result that he would have wanted, but a P13 in a very tough field where he went up 7 spots is still a great effort. Stevie Hansen comes home in 14th with ahead of Harley Haber, and Craig Jones in 16th. Chris Cox had 17th, ahead of what was a fantastic scrap all race long between Andrew Welter, Mark Samuel, and David Miller, who came out into the top 20, but it also included Christian Smart, Sean Thompson, Damon Mulqueen, Andrew Zackerson, James Mackay, James Duckworth, and Warren Pickering was in there as well for what was some great racing. We saw Jamie McKnight in P number 28 come into a few issues, especially early in the race, which involved a contact with Sam Blacklock, who comes home P29, loses a bunch of I rating, loses a bunch of points. More importantly, though, in our championship fight, so not what he would have wanted. Mario Vlasic, Brett Canandi, and Sam Sutton would be our final 3 cars who were all retirements, but what a race that was, Zach. It went right down to the wire, as it so often does in this series.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a place you want to watch exciting, close racing, then you needn't look no further than the iRacing V8 Supercars official series here on the iRacing Esports Network, and proudly broadcasted by the newly, rebranded SimSpeed TV. And we've got some more high-impact action coming at you throughout the week. On Wednesday, we have the SSA GT3 series at Phillip Island, which is a home track for you and I, Bo, and one of the best tracks to race at in Australia. And there's pretty much no better track to drive at in Australia in a GT3 car.
You've probably asked the worst person in the world about that. I'm actually not too much of a fan of Phillip Island, but it does provide some great racing down that long front straight, heading towards turn number 1. It's always ultra exciting stuff. And you know, the GT3 series, it's going down to the wire. You know, Luis Paulo Gallen, we've got Anthony Winkelman, of course, the reigning champion, Ross Rizzo in there as well. It's getting very tight at the moment. And, well, Phillip Island, it could very well be the decider that ends it all, which should be great. But on Saturday, Zach, I heard we've got a pretty cool event as well.
Yeah, we're going to be streaming live from PAX Australia in Melbourne for the second broadcast of VSR Showdown, where once again, one of 18 competitors will be walking away with a drive in a Formula 4 car. And as we saw last time, there was some very exciting racing. It came down to a very exciting set of finals, and Dylan Shepherd was lucky enough to walk away. I say lucky, he definitely fought his way through all those competitors to earn that seat. but he will be driving a Formula 4 car, as will one lucky person at the end of Saturday from the VSR Showdown at PAX.
Yep, absolutely. And then, of course, on Sunday, we have another pretty big event that I'm sure a couple of people will definitely be watching. It is, of course, the V8 Supercars Online Premier Series at what has to be said is the Concrete Canyon, maybe apart from Belle Isle, but we're going to Montreal for 600 kilometers for a split race format. So 2 300-kilometer races, and it should be very, very intense because that is a circuit where you cannot blink for even a second or you'll be in the wall. You can't miss a braking point. You'll get a slowdown. There's just going to be so many drivers who have to be so focused on what is going to be happening in that race. And for 600 kilometers, it is not going to be easy in the slightest. Of course, it's Jared Filsell leading the championship at the moment, but Ethan Grigault is not as far behind as some might think, and his car currently leads the Endurance Series standing. So can ERT wrap up the Endurance Cup for the second year in a row? Well, we'll have to find out on Sunday. It should be fantastic, and make sure you are watching it all live on the iRacing Esports Network, broadcasted by SimSpeed TV. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time at the next round.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.